ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकाकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी श्रीराधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. I humbly bow down and welcome all the devotees for our discussion, daily discussion from the Srimad Bhagavatam, very specifically the 8th canto, the first 3 chapters, in fact, chapter 2, 3, and 4. So technically, little portion of the end of the first chapter and then 3 chapters later, which is the Gajendra Lila Katha, which also includes the Gajendra Stuti. Very specifically, the Gajendra Stuti goes from text 2 to 29 in the 3rd chapter, and that is where we are in the middle of our discussion at text 8 and 9 for today. We have covered up to text 7 yesterday. Today we are going to take 8 and 9. Canto 8, chapter 3, text 8 and 9. न विद्यते यस्य च जन्म कर्म वा न नाम रूपे गुणदोष एव वा तथापि लोकाप्ययसंभवाय यः स्वमायया तान्यनुकालमृच्छति तस्मै नमः परेशाय ब्रह्मणेऽनन्तशक्तये अरूपोऽयुरुरूपाय नमः आश्चर्यकर्मणे. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no material birth, activities, name, form, qualities, or faults. To fulfill the purpose of which this material world is created and destroyed, He comes in the form of a human being like Sri Ram or Sri Krishna by His original internal potency. He has immense potency, and in various forms, all free from material contamination, He acts wonderfully. He is therefore the Supreme Brahman. I offer my respects to Him. Srila Prabhupada's purport now. In the Vishnu Puran it is said, Gunanscha doshanscha mune vyatita samasta kalyana gunatmakohi. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no material form, qualities, or faults. He is spiritual and is the only reservoir of all spiritual qualities. As stated in the Gita by the Supreme Lord, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. The Lord's activities of saving the demons and saving the devotees and annihilating the demons are transcendental. Anyone annihilated by the Supreme Lord gets the same result as the devotee who is protected by the Lord. Both of them are transcendently promoted. The only difference is that a devotee goes directly to the spiritual planets and becomes an associate of the Supreme Lord, whereas the demons are promoted to Brahmaloka, the impersonal effulgence of the Lord, Brahman, the Brahmajyoti. Both of them, however, are transcendently promoted. The Lord's killing or annihilating of the demons is not exactly like the killing of this material world. Although He appears to act within the modes of material nature, He is nirguna, above the modes of nature. His name is not material. Otherwise, how can one get liberation by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare? The names of the Lord, like Rama and Krishna, are non-different from the person Rama and Krishna. Thus, by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one constantly associates with Rama and Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore becomes liberated. A practical example is Ajamila, who always remained transcendental to his activities simply by chanting the name Narayana. If this was true of Ajamil, what is to be said of the Supreme Lord? When the Lord comes to this material world, he does not become a product of matter. This is confirmed throughout Bhagavad Gita, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, and also Avajananti Mam Mudha Manushim Tanumashritam. Therefore, when the Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Rama or Krishna, descend to act transcendently for our benefit, we should not consider him an ordinary human being. When the Lord comes, he does so on the basis of his spiritual potency, Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. Because he is not forced to come by the material energy, he is always transcendental. One should not consider the Supreme Lord an ordinary human being. Material names and forms are contaminated, but spiritual name and spiritual form are transcendental. Hare Krishna. So, coincidentally, this verse has come up in our discussion in the successive flow, and it makes so much sense as we are very close to the occasion of Sri Ram Navami, the appearance of Sri Ramachandra. So this purport and this verse, this translation makes a lot of significance, especially in the appearance pastime of the Lord. So let's very quickly get the different parts of this verse. First of all, Gajendra is saying na. Na means no. Na vidyate. Vidyate means bhavati, existence. Na vidyate. There is no. Yasya. Yasya means we're talking about the Supreme Lord. So there is no janma, karma, nama, rupa, guna, dosha. 6 things are mentioned. There is no janma, there is no birth, there is no karma, there is no nama, rupa. Nama means name, rupa means form, janma means birth, karma means activities, guna means qualities, and dosha means faults. So na vidyate yasya, cha means and. So between all this, the word cha, the word va 2 times, all means or, and, etc. Cha means and, va means or. Na vidyate yasya cha janma karma va, na, again na, nama rupa guna dosha eva va. So basically Gajendra is saying the Supreme Lord has no material birth, which means he doesn't come from anybody's womb. He doesn't come karmana daiva netrena jantu deha upapattate. The Bhagavatam describes in the 3rd canto that living beings like us, we are born. How are we born? Very beautiful description has been given. Karmana daiva netrena. That the demigods first of all analyze the karmic reaction of the jiva. What all activities he has done. Daiva netrena. Karmana means karma. Daiva means the demigods, and netrena, by their eyes, by their supervision. So karmana daiva netrena. First of all, the demigods calculate our karma, and accordingly jantuhu deha upapattaye. So then after that, the living beings, jantu, is given deha. Accordingly, different forms, different bodies are given. So first of all, jantu, the soul, is separate from the body. And this is why the soul, when it is in a certain body, it commits different kinds of good and bad activities, which is called good karma or bad karma. Very specifically, it is called as karma in general, and it is called vikarma when it is viruddha karma, when it is against Shastra. So first of all, there is a difference between the soul and the body for us. And if we are in a certain body, we commit good and bad activities. And depending on that, there is calculation by the demigods. And depending on that, another new body is assigned. And then when that body is assigned, depending on the past karma, place is assigned, family is assigned, our financial condition, our material condition and qualification, our looks, everything has been properly calculated by the demigods. And then through the semen of the father, the living being is pushed into the womb of the mother. There the child grows for 9 months and then is stuffed in that womb of the mother, eaten up, tender skin is eaten up by worms which are appearing there because of stool and urine that the child is passing. And if the mother is smoking and drinking and probably eating some bitter and spicy and pungent and astringent food, that's adding more trouble to the child. All of this is very beautifully described in the third canto. Very specifically, we can read the 31st chapter of the third canto. A lot of details are given. His Holiness Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj has given series of classes in this section and very beautifully has described how the child suffers in the womb of the mother. And then, as we know, the child calls out to the Lord. And His Holiness Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj said that if we chant that chapter of the Bhagavatam, which contains the prayers that a child offers in the womb, every child offers this prayer in the womb. Every birth, every child offers, irrespective of the species. Why? Because every soul by default is Sat Chit Ananda. So the Chit potency or the Samvit potency, which is all cognizant potency, is invoked. And by the blessing of the Paramatma, the Jivatma calls out to Krishna while being in the womb. And very beautiful prayers are there. So I'll let the devotees read that at your own convenience, because that is little out of our present purview of discussion. But there, when Krishna is invoked, Krishna appears in the size of the thumb, just like he appeared to save Maharaj Parikshit. Vishnu Ratena Samprashto Bhagavan Badarayini. Bhagavatam describes Parikshit is he who was saved in the womb. Similarly, we also get saved, but we get saved with faith and trust. We tell the Supreme Lord, my Lord, I promise you, I have taken so many births and I have misused and wasted time and energy and possible species, possible birth. This life, my Lord, this human life that I have, please kindly allow me to come out of this womb as soon as possible. And then I would like to use all my time and energy exclusively in your service. And Krishna says, will you do this? And the Jiva says, definitely I will. But my Lord, when I come out, I will be caught by your illusory energy, Maya Shakti. So therefore, I leave it to you to remind me again, because in that illusory energy, I will not be able to remember. So you kindly remind me while I am there outside, so that I will take up to your service. Then when we come out of the mother's womb, Krishna, through different mediums, through Prabhupada's books, if we are part of ISKCON, if we are part of Sri Sampradaya or other Sampradayas, then other books of pure Vaishnavas, and then temples and deities, and so many different ways, Diksha Guru, Siksha Guru. In this way, the Supreme Lord tries to remind us. But we don't take it seriously. We think, oh, it is a waste of time. It is a distraction from our sense gratification. In this way, because of turning away from Krishna in that life also, we don't know what is right and what is wrong. Because there is no guiding principle. There is no roadmap. There is no one to guide us. So as a result, when we don't take directions from Shastra towards Krishna, then we take directions from our mind, which is going away from Krishna. And when we take directions from our mind tells us, do this, do that, do this, do that. And they may not be in line with the Shastra, as a result of which we entangle ourselves in more and more horrible meshes of bad, sinful activities. And then it gets even more complex for the demigods to calculate at the end of that life. So this is how a living being continues in existence. And the fact that we are all discussing this sitting here is the fact that we have gone through these situations billions and billions of times. Because if we were liberated, we wouldn't be here. So we are all in Kali Yuga. Probably we were in Sapti Yuga, then we didn't get liberated the whole of Sapti Yuga, 17 lakh years. And then we were pushed down again to Treta, then to Dwapar, and now Kali. Things are getting more and more easier in Kali Yuga in comparison to Sapti Yuga. There was no internet then. Just in case if there was some problem with COVID in Satya Yuga, what would everyone do? But we are so happy. Even amidst all of this, Kali Maharaj has blessed us with internet. We are having so many classes to hear and so many e-books to read and so many kirtans to view. And in this way, we have so many wonderful, easier ways. In 50 years of just simply singing and chanting the names of Krishna, we can achieve what was achievable in Satya Yuga by 60, 70,000 years of one-pointed contemplative meditation in the forest. So we have gone through all of this. This is how a living being goes through janma. Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi, dukkha, doshanu, darshanam. Krishna says that these are all dukkha. Dukkha means suffering. Anu darshanam. Again and again we have darshan of birth, old age, disease and death. This is why we are all called embodied. Embodied. We are living in bodies. So body means B-O-D-Y. We are all having body. We are soul, but we are all stuck in a body. B-O-D-Y. So B stands for birth, O stands for old age, D stands for disease, and Y ultimately stands for Yamaraj. So B-O-D-Y. We are all stuck in body. This is janma. This is what we call as janma. So na vidyate yasya cha janma karmava. So Gajendra is saying Krishna does not have janma. Why the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna does not have janma? Because he doesn't have past life, present life and future life. Time does not act on him, one. Second, there is no karma for him. Demigods don't sit and analyze. Karmana daiva netrena. No, he is the neta for the demigods. So they cannot supervise him. They get supervised by him. So he's above the demigods. No one to write his karma. Karma is written for those. In fact, it's interesting. Srila Sridhar Swami, the original commentator, he describes what is karma. He defines karma as activities performed by a living being to fulfill something that they feel they are lacking in. So I repeat, Sridhar Swami comments and he defines karma as the activities performed by a living being to fulfill desires that they are, to fulfill things that they are lacking in. That activity to get something that we lack in, to get a fulfillment in that activity is called karma. So because Krishna is full in everything, Sri Vishnu, Sri Ramachandra, they are full in everything. There is no desire to fulfill any unfulfilled desire. Therefore, they have no karma. They don't have any janma because they are not pushed by the laws of material nature. Material nature comes from them. Laws of material nature comes from Krishna. Krishna is not bound by these laws. Also, they are not assigned by anyone. This is the place you have to appear in. This is how you will look. This is a set of parents you must accept. No, the Supreme Lord is free whether or not to come, and also free where he wants to come, free whom he wants to accept, free how he wants to look. Whatever he wants to do, he is free. This is na vidyate yasya cha janma karmava. Also, he doesn't enter any womb. You see, all the Shaktis, they appear from lotus. Mother Sita, she's appearing from the ground, or in another kalpa she's described to appear from a lotus. Radharani appears from the lotus. Mother Durga is appearing as the swapped child, 10-handed. Till now she was a baby, but now when Kamsa threw 10-handed. Also you see Krishna appearing as a 4-handed Vishnu Murti in the prison house of Kamsa. Even when Ramachandra appeared, it is described he was bedecked with jewels. Nowadays when people appear, babies appear, you see, they are smeared with stool and urine, and they're smeared with blood. They, some have hair, some don't have hair, some have a lot of hair on their body, and they're crying. But Krishna is appearing, and they're born naked. All these babies are born naked. But Krishna and the Supreme Lord, they're appearing with effulgence from their body. And they bring their own pitambar dhoti. They bring their own ornaments. They bring everything. And 4-handed, they can light up everything. And with so much knowledge, Krishna is appearing and he's telling Devaki and Vasudev, actually 3 lifetimes you have been doing bhajan to get me. This is why out of mercy I am appearing to you. Imagine a child speaking like that to their parents. So this is what Gajendra is saying. Na vidyate yasya cha janma karmava. So there are no janma and karma acting on the living being. Krishna is described as avirbhav. Avirbhav means appearance. There is appearance, and Prabhupada gives the example of the sun. It may be dark here, but that doesn't mean the sun is dead. The sun has just set from our purview of vision behind the mountains. and the moon seems to appear from the ocean. But the moon, the sun and the moon eternally exist. Similarly, Krishna eternally, the Lord whose eyes are the sun and the moon, he eternally exists. So Gajendra is saying, Na vidyate yasya cha janma karma va, na nama rupe. My Lord, even your names are not material. Just like Janma is a material thing. But your appearance is not material. Therefore, it is Avirbhav. It is not birthday, but appearance day. However, here is where there is a transcendental twist. Srila Jiva Goswami describes that Krishna also appeared from Mother Yashoda. He appeared to Mother Devaki, but he also appeared to Mother Yashoda. And that Mother Yashoda, when she gave birth to Krishna, Srila Jiva Goswami explains that Krishna entered her womb and he came out like a normal baby. Because Krishna wanted also to experience what it seems like to be born like normal babies. So Acharyas like Jiva Goswami are explaining Krishna also entered the womb of Mother Yashoda. And when he came out, he was crying. And when he looked at Mother Yashoda, she was keeping him on the lap, and he was just calling out, just like babies would call out, "Mommy, Mama." So Krishna was calling, "Mom, Mom." Mom, 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 mom. Actually, he was not calling mom. He was saying Om, Om. So you see O-M, 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 O-M. So it seems like Om, Mom, 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 Mom. That's why in English you say mom. Where is the mom coming from? You remove the first M, it is O-M. So Krishna said O-M, O-M, O-M. So you knock out the first O, then it is only M-O-M, M-O-M, M-O-M. So Krishna was saying Omkar, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu. From his lips, Omkar appears. That was the first word that came from Krishna's mouth. So in this way, in a general understanding, it is good to note that Krishna or the Supreme Lord, they don't have material birth. He's completely transcendental. But however, he also may appear to increase the excitement of his devotees. In fact, it is very beautifully described. In Shastra, it is also described that Krishna performs all his activities. Yes, very specifically in the Padma Purana, it is described. Madbhakta vinodartham karomi vivida kriya. Krishna says that Madbhakta vinodartham, just for the entertainment of my devotees, karomi vivida kriya. I perform different kinds of activities. So we appear from the womb of our mother, but we cannot appear in a four-handed form. So Krishna appears in a four-handed form as Vishnu, but at the same time he may enter Mother Yashoda's womb and appear like a normal child. So that option is present with him. So na vidyate yasya cha janma karmava. Oh, that Supreme Lord who has no material birth, no material activities, and similarly na nama rupe gunadosha evava. He has no material name. He has no material name. Like for example, for us, we are born, and after we are born, depending on the family, depending on the religion, depending on the caste, depending on the the astrological timing, also the tithi, the nakshatra, etc. Different alphabets are picked, and then the astrologer says, okay, yeah, this from this alphabet you should have names. Then the different names are written. Then one of those names are picked, and that is what we are called after our birth. Name giving is given after Janma. And similarly, we continue all our life, name remains the same. But after we die, we leave this body, that name also goes away. Because people don't say the name anymore, they just say body. We have to cremate the body, that's all. Even if someone is a very big president, while he's in the body, they make announcements, oh, president of this country is arriving. But once he's gone, he still remains the body. So for us, our names are given after our birth, and as soon as there is death, the name goes away. No one refers by the name. But Krishna is not like that. For Krishna, bahuni santi namani rupani cha sutasyate guna karma anurupani tanyaham veda nojana. Garga Muni says, Canto 10, Chapter 8, Text 15 in the Bhagavatam, that bahuni santi namani. When Nanda Maharaj asks him, what name should we give? So Gargacharya says, oh, bahuni santi namani, rupani cha sutasyate. Oh, Nanda Maharaj, how do I tell you? This boy actually has many, many names. And he has many forms also. Like, for example, Krishna performs an activity and immediately devotees are ready to give him a name. So he steals butter, he's called Makanchor. Navanita Taskar. Braje Prasiddham Navanita Chauram. Chauragraganyam. He lifts Govardhan, he's called Giridhari, Govardhan Dhari. He dances on the head of Kaliya. So then Kaliya Vishadhara Ganjana Janaranjana Janaranjana Yadukula Nadinesha Jaya Jaya Deva Hare Hare Jaya Jaya Deva Hare. Jayadev Goswami is sitting with his pen to glorify. Similarly, Krishna is growing up and he's called as the son of Nanda Maharaj. So Nanda Nandana, son of Yashoda, Yashoda Nandana, Yashomati Nandana, son of Vasudev. It's interesting. Chandogya Upanishad calls Krishna as Vasudev even before the description of Devaki and Vasudev. So it's not that his name were given after his appearance and the names are taken away after his departure. No. His names are as eternal as the Supreme Lord. So Gargacharya is saying, talking about his names, well, he has many, many names. He has many, many forms also. Guna Karma Anurupani. Oh, dear Nanda Maharaj, depending on his qualities, depending on his pastimes and his forms, different names are given to him. When he appears in a green complexion, he is given the name Ram, dark complexion. When he comes in a bluish black complexion, he is called Krishna. When he appears in a reddish complexion, he is called Varaha. When he comes in a whitish complexion, he is Vamana because he appears in a dwarf form. When he comes in a ferocious half man, half lion, half man is Nara, half lion is Simha. Therefore, he is called Narasimha. But because this is Hari coming as a human body, therefore it is called human-like body. He is called Narahari also. So many different forms are there. Because he is like a wild lion. He is also called Ranasimha, Ugrasimha, Mahasimha, Ranasimha Maheshwara. Because he is very ferocious, he is called Ugrasimha. Because he is standing in a form ready to attack, he is called Sthanu Narsimha. Because he has flames, volcanic eruptive flames from his mouth and his eyes, he is called Jwala Narsimha. But because he is coming, because of Prahlad Maharaj's devotion, he is called Prahlad Narsimha. But when he is completely pacified, he is called as Shanta Narsimha. When he is sitting with Lakshmi Devi, he is called Lakshmi Narsimha. When he is sitting in meditation, meditating on his devotees' devotion, he is called Yoga Narsimha. So same Narsimha, but you see, depending on his form, depending on his qualities, he is given so many names. And these names are all eternal. Even before the Leela was performed, the names are continuing. So this is what Gajendra is saying. My Lord, your names are eternal. They are eternal as the forms. Shukla Rakta Tathapita Idanim Krishna Tangatah. This is what Gargacharya says. Sometimes he appears in Shukla, white complexion. Sometimes Rakta, reddish complexion. Sometimes Pita, yellow complexion. So if green is Ram and blue is Krishna and white is Vamana and red is Varahadev, then what is the yellow or the golden Pita complexion? Oh, that is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Idanim Krishna Tangatah. He's called Krishna because he's all attractive. Krishi Bhu Vachako Shabdo Nascha Nivritti Vachaka Tayo Raikyam Parabrahma Krishna iti abhidhiyate. But at the same time, the word Krishna also refers to he who's in dark complexion. So you see, Gargacharya was not creating a name for Krishna after he appeared. He's picking the name out of the list of eternal names, which suits the present context. So this is very important. Also in our context, you see, we call something as a forest. From a distance, we see something, we say, oh, we see a group of trees and greenery, we say, oh, that is a forest. That is a name that we have given for our convenience. So if someone says, oh, can you give me 2 palmful of forest? That doesn't make any sense. You said, yeah, that is forest, but you bring me little forest. When you go close to bring little forest, you see there is nothing called as a forest. Forest is a group of trees. So bringing forest doesn't make sense. You cannot. So you come back and say, oh, actually there is nothing called as forest. It is simply a bunch of trees. Okay, then the person says, oh, can you bring me a tree? Then you go close and you see a tree. then you see it is there. The word tree is just given in a certain shape. We have just given it in a certain shape. When it is in a certain formation, we call it a tree. So the name is also so temporary and circumstance specific. So they say, can you bring a tree? Then you go close and then you see, actually this tree is made out of wood. You go and tell them, actually there is nothing called as a tree. It is made out of wood. And there is a trunk, there are branches, there are twigs, there are leaves, etc. Then he says, oh, can you bring the trunk? Okay. Then you go close and you see the trunk. Then you come back to say, wait a minute. There is nothing called as a trunk. It is actually a bunch of molecules put together. That's all. So then the person says, okay, can you bring me some molecules then? Then we go and see. Then we understand on further analysis that there is nothing called as a molecule. It is simply a combination of atoms put together, which is called as a molecule. So you come back and you say, actually, it's just a bunch of atoms there. Okay, can you bring some atoms? Then the person goes to fetch some atoms. And then he understands 90%, 95% of the atom is filled with space. So you come back and you say, actually, it is just filled with space. So in this way, we see that the names that we are giving, forest, tree, wood, trunk, molecules, atoms, space, is all very temporary. When you go close, there is nothing like that. Ultimately, the whole material creation is made out of atoms. But when it is in a specific form, we call it by a certain name. So someone will say, okay, you bring the trunk of the tree. We bring the tree. Then they say that, okay, from that tree, you cut and you from that wood, you make a specific shape with 4 legs. So then you call it table. That same thing which was called as a tree before is now called a table. Okay, then you cut 1 leg out of it. Now it's no longer called a table. It could probably be called as a firewood or something, for on the chula or something like that, for making firewood. So you see that same tree, that same wood, that same table, that same firewood, depending on the shape, there are different names. But this is not the name. This is not how it works for Krishna. Krishna's names, Achyuta, Ananta, Govinda, Madhusudana, these names are all eternal. They are forever. They are not person specific, time specific, place specific, circumstance or specific, occasion, situation specific. They are all eternal. This is why Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Nidra chhadi otho jiva. Oh jiva, you give up the sleep and you wake up. And bolo, just chant. Hari Hari Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva. Just chant the names of Sri Hari. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur continues, just chanting the names throughout Vibhavari Shesha. Vibhavari Shesha Aloka Pravesha Nidra chhadi utho jiva. Bolo Hari Hari Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva. Narsimha Vamana Shri Madhusudana Vrajendra Nandana Shyama Putana Ghatana Kaita Bashatana Jaya Dasharati Rama Yashoda Dulala Govinda Gopala Brindavana Purandara Gopi Priya Jana Radhika Ramana Bhuvana Sundaravara Ravananta Kara Makhanata Skara Gopi Jana Vastrahari Vrajera Rakhala Gopa Brindapala Chitta Hari Vamshidhari Yogindra Vandana Shri Nandanandana Vrajajana Bhayahari Navina Nirada Rupa Manohara Mohana Vamshi Vihari Yashodanandana Kamsani Sudana Nikunjara Savilasi Kadamba Kanana Rasa Parayana Vrindavipina Nivasi Anandavardhana Premaniketana Phulasara Yojaka Kama Gopanganangana chitta vinodana samasta guna gana dhama yamuna jivana keli parayana manasa chandra chakora yamuna jivana keli parayana manasa chandra chakora nama sudharasa gao Krishna yasha rakho vachana manomora. Look how beautifully Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung Nam Sankirtan throughout the song. And he says, Yamuna Jivana Keli Parayana Manasa Chandra Chakora. Oh Krishna, if my mind is a Chakora Pakshi, then I want you as the full moon. And then he says, Nama Sudha Rasa, these names, Gao Krishna Yasha, please sing them. And Rakho Vachana Manamora. In this way, you can protect your tongue and your mind by constantly chanting them. So again and again, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in so many songs you can see. Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol, Bol Hari Bol. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. Narottam Das Thakur says, Grihe Vava Nete Thake, Ha Gauranga Boleda Ke, Narottama Mage Tara Sanga, Narottama Mage Tara Sanga, Je Gaurange Namale Tara Hoy Premodai. Narottam Das Thakur is saying, Je Gaurangero Nam Le Tara Hoy Premodai. Anyone who says Gauranga, oh, there will be prem. He says, anyone who chants Gauranga, Narottama Mage Tara Sangha. Narottam Das Thakur is begging for their association. You see how much our acharyas have glorified Harinam Prabhu. How much they have glorified. So when Gajendra is saying, Na nama rupe guna dosha evava, he's not saying, my lord, you have no names. He's saying, you don't have names like we do. Just like you don't have janma like we do, you don't have karma like we do, you don't have names like we do. Our names are after our birth and it doesn't make any sense. That name also you make it short to Chinnu, Chutki, and whatnot. We make all these short forms which make no sense. But Krishna, your names exist as eternally as you do. They are not given to you after your birth, after your appearance. And also we see Bhagavatam throughout, just Nam Mahima. Canto 8, chapter 23, text 16. Mantratas tantratas chidram desha kalharha vastutah sarvam karoti nishchidram anu sankirtanam tava. There may be discrepancies in so many mantras and so many principles and time and place and person and paraphernalia. They may have chitra, they may all have faults. But sarvam karoti nishchidram. If you want to overcome all their faults, then anu sankirtanam tava. Then one must chant the holy name. Then Canto 9, chapter 4, text 18, 19, 20. Shukdev Goswami describes Ambarish Maharaj and he says, Vachamsi Vaikunta Guna Anu Varnane. He would constantly glorify the Supreme Lord and therefore his tongue was glorious. Again, Canto 9, chapter 5, text 16. Very beautiful verse. This is a memorization verse. Yannama Shruti Matrena Puman Bhavati Nirmalaha Tasya Tirtha Pada Kimva Dashanam Avashishyate. Bhagavatam describes Yan Nama Shruti Matrena. Just by hearing the name Puman Bhavati Nirmalaha, people become purified. Tasya Tirtha Pada Kimva Dasanam Avashishyate. Then what to speak of those Dasa? Those who are constantly serving his feet. Just by hearing the name, so much is gained. Prabhupada in the purport, in this context, he brings in the example of Ajamil. He says if the name is material, then how can it liberate someone? See, for the name to liberate Ajamil, the name should have been liberated. And the person who's being referred by the name, he must be liberated. Because while leaving, if Ajamil would have said Coca-Cola or Pepsi, then definitely I think more Yamadutas would have come because of that. But now the fact that Vishnudutas came to protect him, which means he chanted a name which was liberating. The name is liberated and the person invoked by the name is also liberated, which means they are beyond time and space, which means they're transcendental. They're not material. This is the point being made. So Bhagavatam time and again talks about this. We see in the pastime of Putana also. Krishna, when he's on the body of Putana, all the gopis run. After Krishna has finished Putana, he's playing on the chest of Putana. So all the motherly gopis, they run to save Krishna. And they perform what is called as Swastivachan. They purify Krishna's body. They put Gomutra Snapayitva. They first bathe him with the cow urine. And then with cow dung and the dust of Braj, they give him 12 marks of tilak on his body. And it's interesting. They purify him throughout. They move the tail of a cow and they protect him from all inauspiciousness. But the most interesting thing is, their series of verses, Shukdev Goswami describes that they chanted different names of Krishna. They chanted the names of Krishna to protect Krishna. Can you imagine how the name of Krishna is so powerful that when Krishna is being attacked by Putana, the motherly gopis feel that Krishna, who's been smeared with, let's say, the saliva or the nails or the teeth with poison of Putana, that Krishna, all pure Krishna, can now be purified and protected by the names of Krishna. So Krishna's name is used to purify Krishna. They say, may your navel be protected by this name. May your lotus feet be protected by this name. May your lotus hands be protected by this name. So in this way, Krishna's name gives protection to Krishna even. And even before this pastime is being described in Canto 10, Chapter 6, Text 3, when Parikshit Maharaj is scared that Krishna is a baby and Putana is a killer of babies, what is going to happen? Shukdev Goswami says, Na yatra shravanadini rakshobnani swakarmasu kurvanti satvatam bhartu yatudanyascha tatrahi. Oh Parikshit Maharaj, don't worry. Wherever there is chanting of Krishna's holy name, there cannot be evil spirits. What to speak of when the person is present in person there? Krishna is present on the lap of Mother Yashoda in the cradle of Vrindavan. Wherever Krishna's name is there, all inauspiciousness is removed. So here the person is present in full potency. Also we find in the pastimes of Ramachandra, Ramachandra sat on the ocean shore praying to Varun Dev to give way, and he sat there for 7 days praying, please give way, now I want to go to Lanka, I want to pass over your ocean body. And after 7 days, when the Supreme Lord, he threatened Varuna because Varuna wouldn't surrender to the Supreme Lord. And then finally, Sri Ramachandra looked at the oceanic body of Varuna and the whole water started shivering and trembling, boiling, so to speak. And Varuna came with folded hands and he told Sri Ramachandra, my Lord, I thought you were performing Nara Leela, human-like pastimes. That is why, just because for a human being I don't give way, this is why I didn't for 7 days give way. But my Lord, if you're going to boil the water with your eyes as the Supreme Lord, then I come out as your servant. Please order me. So for Ram, it took 7 days. But that same ocean was crossed by Hanuman with one jump, with one name of Sri Ram. So the name of Ram with the name of Ram, you can cross the ocean in one jump. But for Ram, it is taking 7 days. What is this showing us? Although Nam and Nami are non-different, between the two, Harinam Prabhu is our worshipable master who will take us to Harinam, Nami. Nam will take us to Nami. Also we see Canto 10, Chapter 47, Text 66. When Uddhava comes to Vrindavan and he's speaking to Nanda Maharaj says, Manaso vrittayo nasyu Krishna padambujashrayaha vacho bidhayinir nam kayastat prahvanadishu. When Uddhava is speaking to Nanda Maharaj says, the only thing I desire is to continuously chant the name of Krishna in my tongue. In separation from Krishna, the only desire which is rising in the heart is that if I'm not able to have personal association of Krishna, at least I can have the Nam avatar. Kali kale Nam vinu nahi aradharma. Sarva mantra sara Nam ei shastra marma. Chaitanya Charitamrita describes, Kali Kale Nam Vinu Nahi Ara Dharma. Without Harinam in Kali Yuga, there is no other dharma. And Sarva Mantra Sarnam, the Brahma Gayatri, the Guru Gayatri, the Gaur Gayatri, the Gopal Mantra, the Kama Gayatri Mantra, all these mantras, Sarva Mantra Sarnam, they retire after taking us to Vaikuntha and liberating us from material existence. But Nam takes us to the service of Radha and Krishna. Our Hare Krishna Mahamantra has 8 times the invocation to Hara Devi, Radharani, which means out of 16 words, 8 names are for Radha. Therefore, the probability that we are going to reach the abode of Radharani, Sri Vrindavan Dham, is very clearly explained. 8 names for Krishna, but 8 names for Radha. And all the lines start with Hare and end with Hare Hare. So we are making our destination very clear. So therefore, in Kali Yuga, without Nam, there is no other dharma. Sarva Mantra Sarnam. The essence of all Vedic mantras is Harinam. Ei Shastra Marma. This is the essence of all Shastra. Kali Kale Nam Rupe Krishna Avatar. In Kali Yuga, Krishna has appeared as Nam. So wonderfully, Nam has been glorified all through in Shastra. Jagai and Madhai, they had so much sin, so many offenses, but they were purified by chanting 200,000 names of Krishna every day. 2 lakh. The prostitute who came to Haridas Thakur, she was purified and given the position of being called Haridasi by constantly chanting Harinam. By chanting Harinam, Ratnakar becomes Valmiki. You can see so many examples by chanting Harinam, how the Supreme Lord is not appearing before our eyes when we are sinful, but Harinam Prabhu is dancing on our tongue. So many times we see Nam Sankirtan is going on. So many places you have even Nam Sankirtan going through fish markets. People are buying fish and we are doing Harinam Sankirtan. There is fish all over the place. How can Krishna appear? Can you do deity worship there? Can you do yajna there? We cannot do any spiritual performance there. But Harinam Prabhu, Krishna is appearing as Nam Prabhu. Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Abhinnatvam Nama Namino Na Nama Sadrisham Jnanam Na Nama Sadrisham Vratam Namaiva Karanam Jantor Namaiva Prabhurevacha Namaiva Paramaradhyo Namaiva Paramagati Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Iti Shodashakam Nam Kali Kalmashanashanam Nata Paratarupaya Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate Achyutananta Govindo Namocharana Bheshajat Nashyanti Sakala Roga Satyam Vadamyaham Brahma Stamba Paryantam Sarvam Maya Mayam Jagat Satyam Punah Satyam Hare Namaiva Kevalam Madhuram Madhurebhyopi Mangalebhyopi Mangalam Pavanam Pavanebhyopi Hare Namaiva Kevalam Sa Guru Sa Pita Chapi Sa Mata Sa Bandhavopi Sha Sikshaye Chet Sada Smartum Hare Namaiva Kevalam. How many references are there glorifying Harinam Prabhu? Is this all a coincidence? Is this all an exaggeration? Is this all an overstatement? Absolutely no. Absolutely no. Those who are chanting Harinam, they will glorify and they will actually say this is an understatement. Harinam Prabhu gives way more than this. This is why in the Bhagavatam, 11th canto, chapter 5, text 32, it is said, only those who are intelligent in Kali Yuga, they will take up Harinam Seva. They will take Harinam as their only shelter. Only Nam Seva, nothing else. Again, Canto 11, Chapter 5, Text 36. Kalim sabhajayantyarya gunajna sarabhaginaha yatra sankirtane naiva sarva swartho bhilabhyate. Bhagavatam again describes in Kali Yuga, those who are intelligent, they glorify this age. Why? Yatra sankirtane naiva sarva swartho bhilabhyate. One can get all their desires fulfilled materially and spiritually just by chanting Harinam. In fact, Saraswati Thakur said, to the extent we feel that just by chanting Harinam, how can I be maintained? To that extent, we are an atheist, Saraswati Thakur says. Harinam Prabhu can bring in everything. Saraswati Thakur would say, by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Krishna can break the roof and give you your food. But because you don't have enough faith, he's not doing it, Saraswati Thakur would say. So many places. Then Bhagavatam describes. Again, Canto 11, chapter 5, text 37. Na yata paramo labo dehinam brahmyatamiha yato vindeta paramam shantim nashyanti samsriti. Just by chanting Harinam, what will happen? One will be free from the cycle of birth and death, and one will be very lovingly instituted at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Again, Canto 12, chapter 3, text 51 and 52. Kaler dosha nidhe rajan astihi eko. Please focus. Astihi eko, one, no two, one. Astihi, he means indeed. Astihi eko mahan guna. Kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangam param vrajet. By chanting Krishna's name, one will become liberated. Krite yadhyayate vishnum tretayam yajato makhai dwapare paricharyayam kalau tad hari kirtana. By chanting Krishna Nam, one will get everything that was found in Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Kali, and much more. Why? Because in the previous 3 ages, Goloka Vrindavan Dham was very hidden. Goloka Vrindavan was aprakat. But this realm was opened by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prema nama bhutartha shravana patagata kasya namno mahimno ko veta kasya vrindavana vipina mahamadhurishu pravesha ko va janati radham paramarasa chamatkara madhurya simam ekas chaitanya chandra parama karunaya sarvamavischakara. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu broke open the treasure box and gave entrance into Radha Dasyam, the lotus feet of Radharani, by chanting Harinam Prabhu, chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So therefore, this has to be understood, that this is the essence of all that exists, to take complete shelter of Krishna Nam. Again, the last verse of Bhagavatam says, just chant the holy name and bow down to Krishna, Krishna will take care. So how many places? Even in the Gita, Krishna said, Yajnanam japa yajñosmi. Of all the yajñas, I am the chanting of the holy name. Chanting of the holy name. When Sri Ramachandra, he came to South India, he chanted a very beautiful verse. Govinda Keshava Janardhana Vasudeva Vishvesha Vishwa Madhusudana Vishwarupa Shri Padmanabha Purushottama Pushkaraksha Narayanachuta Nrisimha Namo Namaste. Ramachandra is chanting in front of Narasimhadev. He is offering his pranam by Harinam. He says, Govinda Keshava Janardhana Vasudeva Vishvesha Vishwa Madhusudana Vishwarupa Shri Padmanabha Purushottama Pushkaraksha Narayanachuta Nrisimho Namo Namaste. I bowed unto that Lord who has all these names. So this is to be understood, that our only business is to take complete shelter of Krishna Nam. And where is this said? Now we famously say Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nama eva kevalam. Kalau nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gatiranyata. In one verse, 8 times this has been mentioned. So Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, 3 times. And then eva. Eva means only Harinam. Nothing else. Only Harinam. Then the question could be, okay, Harinam, but Harinam with something, an additional limb of bhakti also to be added, or to remove that conception, kevalam. So eva means Harinam, and then kevalam means only Harinam. So Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, and then eva, which means only Harinam will work. Okay, Harinam with something else? No, nothing else is needed. Kevalam. And then 3, Nasti eva, Nasti eva, Nasti eva, nothing else, nothing else, nothing else, no other way, no other way, no other way. So 8 times in the same verse. Why would Mahaprabhu say this? Why would any Acharya say this? All our Acharyas have been Nam Nishtha, Nam Rasik. They've all been worshippers of Harinam. So this is our Hare Krishna explosive movement. This is our movement. So when Gajendra is saying, Na nama rupe guna dosha evava, my Lord, your names are not like our names. You see? Someone may say, well, Gajendra, what he means here is, Krishna, you have no name, you have no form, you have no quality, you have no pastime, etc. But actually, you see the first line Gajendra is saying, Na vidyate yasya cha janma karmava, you have no karma, he says. And last line, text 9, he says, last line, Namaha ascharya karmane. First line he says you have no karma. Last line he says you have ascharya karma, astonishing activities. So therefore that means that he doesn't have material qualities like us. He has spiritual qualities. He has spiritual names. He has spiritual forms, spiritual appearance. Like for example, if we make this statement that Amarendra is getting fat day by day. Statement number 1. Statement number 2. Amarendra doesn't eat during the day. So now these two statements are made. First statement, Amarendra is getting fat day by day. Statement number 2, Amarendra doesn't eat all day. So therefore, by putting these pieces together, we know, therefore Amarendra eats at night. You see? So when here Gajendra is saying no karma, but then he says Ascharya karma. Oh, that means you don't have, it's not that you don't have karma, you have no material karma. You have spiritual, Ascharya, astonishing karma. In the second last line, you say Arupa. Arupa means you have no form, and Ururupa, you have many forms. So that means it seems like contradiction. It's like saying Amarendra is getting fat and he doesn't eat all day. Oh, by putting these two together, he eats at night. So therefore, Arupa means no form, and Ururupa, oh, you have many forms, which means you don't have a form like us, you have many spiritual forms. So how wonderfully Gajendra is glorifying the Supreme Lord. Na vidyate yasya cha janma karma va. My Lord, you don't have birth like us, material birth. You don't have material karma. What does this also mean? By discussing our activities, no one's heart gets purified. But by discussing Krishna's activities, heart gets purified because his activities are not like us. Our activities are putrefying. They are contaminating. But Krishna's activities, by hearing, they are purifying. Just by hearing, Vikriditam Vrajavadu Biridam Cha Vishnum. Bhagavatam describes, by hearing Krishna's pastimes, what happens? Heart gets cleansed. Bhaktim Param Bhagavatim Pratilabhya Kamam. Even lust can be destroyed by hearing his pastimes. So, by hearing his pastimes, if lust can be destroyed, how can there be lust in his personality? What we do is time pass, and what he does is pastime. It is the other way around. So our activities, our birth are all material, and his is transcendental. And na nama rupe gunadosha evava. Our names are material and temporary, but his names are permanent and eternal, and spiritually uplifting. How is Krishna's name like? Oh, it is like the fire in the wood. You see? Fire in the wood, if you invoke it by external fire, then that fire comes from inside and it burns the wood to ashes. Similarly, if you keep the name inside the mouth, and by external association, if you have the name in the mouth is like fire in the wood, and external agitation, external manifestation with a fire spark, with a matchstick, that is like Vaishnava association. When that is happening and name is there in the mouth, just like the fire externally manifests and burns down the wood to ashes, similarly the name appears externally and burns down our material bodies. One receives one spiritual body. Material conditioning gets burnt, just like fire from inside comes out and burns down the wood to ashes. Similarly, the name from our mouth, when externally manifested with association, it appears and burns down our material conditioning, and one gets liberated. Na nama, and then rupa also. Krishna's form is also not material. Like for example, one Sri Vaishnava Acharya was describing in his talk. He's a very famous speaker from South India. So once he was speaking about the different deities, Vishnumurtis, and he described that you have Narasimha, you have Ram, you have Krishna, you have Vishnu, etc., Varaha, Hayagriva, etc. What is the difference? It is like saying they're all like different fruits. Vishnumurti, so Sri Vishnu, Lakshmi Narayana, Lakshmi Narasimha, Lakshmi Hayagriva, Lakshmi Varaha, etc. Sita Ram, Radha Krishna, they're all like different fruits. Some are like apple, some are like orange, some are like pear, some are like banana, etc. Some are like mangoes. So when you add 2 mangoes and 2 mangoes, so you get 4 mangoes. Similarly, you add 2 apples and 2 apples, you get 4 apples. You add 2 oranges and 2 oranges, you get 4 oranges. So the arithmetic remains the same, which means all of them, as far as tattva are concerned, they are the same. But what is the difference between these fruits? The taste. Similarly, the flavor, the rasa that each of these vigrahas can give, the taste that they can give is different. Some can give Vaikuntha ras, some can give Goloka ras, some can give Madhurya rasa, etc. So arithmetic wise, as far as Tattva Vichar is concerned, they are all Bhagavan. But as far as Rasa Vichar is concerned, as far as the tastes of the fruits of incarnations are concerned, the intimacy that they can offer is all different. So na nama rupe, the rupa is also manifesting differently. Different colors and different flavors and smell and tastes of different fruits. The Lord is also appearing. And gunadosha evava. People sometimes criticize Sri Krishna, or they criticize Ramachandra, that he ran behind the golden deer. Mother Sita wanted the skin of the deer, or she wanted the flesh of the deer. So many nonsensical interpretations are given. But it is very easy for anyone who is reading the Ramayana to understand that Mother Sita is called as Vaidehi. Videha Raja, Janak Maharaj. His daughter is Janaki or Vaidehi. So her name is Vaidehi. Vaidehi, Vai means beyond. Like Vaikuntha. Kuntha means suffering. And Vaikuntha means without suffering. Or beyond suffering. Where there is no suffering. So similarly, Vaidehi. Deha means bodily conception. And Vaidehi means she who is free from any bodily conception. How can she who is Vaidehi inspire her eternal Lord to run behind the Deha? She who is Vaidehi, beyond the Deha, the bodily conception, how can she be attracted to the Deha of the deer and material skin and the mamsa, the flesh? So people don't understand any tattva, and therefore naturally they have dosha drishti. Sri Ram and Sri Krishna are completely transcendental. Sridhar Swami, when he describes the different avatars, he says Rama Krishna Dhyavataraihi. When he talks about avatar, Nishprapanchat Prapanche Avatarati iti avataraha. He says, what is an avatar? Avatar is that which was beyond this creation in that same form and jumps into this creation in that same form. That is called avatar. And he, while giving descriptions or example, he says Rama Krishna Adi Avataraihi. The incarnations, the examples also, he says Rama and Krishna. So these incarnations, Krishna is coming. Tathapi lokapyaya sambhavaya swamayaya tani anukalam richati. They come by his swamayaya, by their own energy, to create and destroy in this world. So of course we have discussed this enough in the previous descriptions about the energy and the energetic and the creation and destruction of this material world. So now we will continue in the next text. Tasmai Namaha Pareshaya. You see, the Supreme Lord is called as Para Isha, he who is superior to the demigods. So how he is superior to the demigods? Actually, one time, all the demigods went to Brahmaji. And they said, oh, we are really concerned, oh Brahma. We see that the sky is filled with smoke. And the sky has become completely dark. What is the matter? So Brahma said, actually now we just got the news that Jai and Vijay have been cursed and they have gone down on earth from eternal associates of Vishnu. They have gone into the womb of Diti. And being in the womb of Diti, they have started committing sinful activities. And therefore, naturally, the sky has become dark with smoke, anticipating and expecting a very violent future. So the demigods are saying, so if in the womb they are so atrocious, what they will do when they appear? What to do? So Brahma says, I don't know now what has to be done. So he starts meditating on the Supreme Lord. And the Supreme Lord comes from the nose of Brahma. He appears in a small ant size. And he flies in the air and he becomes thumb size. Then he becomes fist size. Then he becomes human size. Then he becomes elephant size. Then he becomes bigger than that, like a big aquatic size. And he's flying in the sky. And when he is flying in the sky, the sages and the demigods are asking Brahma, what is this? Because he came from your nose, you should know what this is. Brahma says, I don't know what has come from my nose. I don't know what this is. Muhyanti yat surayaha. Even demigods get bewildered. They also don't know. So sometimes the Supreme Lord as Narasimha he takes his parents as a pillar. He accepts a pillar as his parent. And as Varahadev, now he's accepting Brahma's nose as his parent. And as he's growing up in the size, they're all looking, they think maybe it's a demon. But when they look closely, they see that actually his eyes are lotus petal-like. So they sing, Shantakaram bhujaka shayanam padmanabham suresham vishwadharam gagana sadrisham meghavarnam shubhangam lakshmi kantam kamalanayanam kamalanayanam yogiri gamyam vande vishnum bhavabhayaharam sarvalokaikanaatham. They glorify that incarnation as Shantakaram, oh peaceful, Bhujaka Shayanam, he who's sleeping on this snake, and Padmanabha, he who has a lotus petal manifesting from his navel. Padmanabha Suresha, he who is the Lord of all demigods. Vishwa Adhara, he who is the support system for the whole creation. Gagana Sadrusham, he who's as vast and all pervading like the sky. Meghavaranam, he who is in the complexion of a rain cloud. Shubhangam, he whose form is very auspicious. Lakshmi Kantam, he who is the eternal Lord of Lakshmi. Kamala Nayanam, he whose eyes are like lotus petal. Yogi Ridhyana Gamyam, he who's appearing in the meditation in the heart of the yogis. Vande Vishnum, we bow down to that Vishnu. Bhava Bhaya Haram, he who destroys all of our sins and our fear. Sarva Lokaikanatham, he who is the only Lord of the whole creation. So in this way, when they glorified, the Lord was very merciful. Varahadev, he smiled on all the demigods headed by Brahma, and then he splashed water from his body. You see, sometimes animals, they go into some pond and they come out and they shake and the water comes out. Where is the tendency coming from? It is coming from their eternal father, Varahadev. So when Varahadev, in the form of the transcendental boar, he moved his body, then there was transcendental water from his body, which was sprinkled on all the demigods and all the sages, and they all become enlightened. They could see what the Lord is going to do. This is why when the pujari is on the altar and he offers arati and then he offers scented water from the altar, devotees should run and accept that water, because we should be like demigods who were touched by the water from the body of the Lord and they got enlightened. Similarly, when we are touched by that water from the conch shell coming from the hands of the pujari from the altar, we will also be touched with transcendental knowledge. So they call the Supreme Lord here in this glories as Suresham, he who is the Lord of the demigods, and Sarva Loka Ekanatham, he who is the Supreme Lord of the whole creation. So this is what Gajendra is saying. Tasmai Namaha Pareshaya, Para Ishaya, he who is the Lord of everything, the Lord of the demigods, he who is completely transcendental. And Brahmane Ananta Shaktaye. You see now these two lines, Brahmane Ananta Shaktaye, Arupa Ururupaye. So 4 words are there. So Brahman is Arupa. So that Brahmane Arupa, that form, the Brahman effulgence is Arupa, doesn't have a form. And the Ananta Shakti, the Lord who possesses unbelievable energy and strength, he is Ururupaya. He takes many forms. So this is how the adjectives are there. So the Brahmane adjective is Arupa and Ananta Shakti adjective is Ururupaya, like that. So why is the Supreme Lord called Ananta Shakti? You see, in this world, in an assembly, when someone very prominent comes in, let's say a tennis player comes in, or a cricket player comes in, or let's say some Bollywood fellow has come in, or some politician steps in, or anyone who has some opulence, some popularity, some famous person, some prominence, he comes in. Immediately everyone gets excited. Everyone's looking at him. They're clicking pictures with him, or from a distance they're looking at him. Even if a Bhagavatam class is going on, still they are not listening to the Bhagavatam. They are just waiting for, to keep seeing that celebrity or that, whoever. So what makes that person prominent? It is their opulence. They hold some Shakti because of which they become prominent. So Krishna is all attractive. Why? Because all Shaktis come from him. So little Shakti, little attractive. All Shakti, all attractive. This is the scientific way to understand. He is all attractive. Therefore, because he has all the Shaktis, all the opulences. As we know, there are 8 prominent Shaktis, 8 prominent Lakshmis. You know, Mahalakshmi, Aishwarya Lakshmi, Dhana Lakshmi, Gaja Lakshmi, Veera Lakshmi, Santana Lakshmi, Adhi Lakshmi, and Vijay Lakshmi. These are the 8 prominent Lakshmis of Vaikuntha. So because Narayana, he possesses all of them, he is Ananta Shaktaye. He has all potency. So imagine Ramachandra and Krishna, it is described, Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambhrama Sevyamanam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajan. All the innumerable Lakshmis are serving the lotus feet of Krishna, and she does tapasya at Belvan to enter the pastimes of Krishna. So you can imagine how much Shakti Krishna has, how much opulence he has. One time one person asked Prabhupada, they wanted to paradoxically trap Prabhupada. So they asked Prabhupada, can God create a stone that he himself cannot lift? So now they were thinking, if Prabhupada says, yes, he can, then you can say, oh, which means God is not able to lift a stone. And if Prabhupada says, no, God cannot, then they can say, oh, God cannot even create a stone. They wanted to see what Prabhupada would say. Can God create a stone that he himself cannot lift? So Prabhupada said, a hill that you cannot lift, that Krishna can lift, like Govardhan. And slippers which you can easily lift, that Krishna is wobbling on his head when it belongs to Nanda Maharaj. And the person got his answer. So Prabhupada very nicely handled it. So in this way, Krishna has Ananta Shakti. He can make the impossible possible and possible impossible. He can carry a whole mountain in his finger, and he can dance also. He can carry the whole Bhumandala on his tusk like Varahadev. He can map the whole creation as Vamandev, as Urukram. At the same time, he can have a Mandarachala mountain on his back, which is not just kept, it is moving, it is grinding on the back. Imagine you take a big rock on our back, on our neck, and you don't just place it, you grind it. That causes a lot of pain. But the Supreme Lord as Kurmadev, he had this Mandarachala, Parvat on his back, mountain on his back, and it was grinding. And at the end of it, the Supreme Lord Kurmadev, he gave a very big sigh of happiness. Oh, he breathed very heavily to give this happy gesture that, oh, finally I could get some itch, properly settled on the back, because he had an itch on the back. He couldn't reach there. So he had this mountain grinding on his back, which helped him relieve that itch. So this is how Ananta Shakti he has. When Arishtasur came into Vrindavan, Krishna book describes that the hump that he had on his back could touch the sky, and his breathing was agitating the tides in the ocean, and his tail was up in the sky, creating some confusion among the clouds. Who is this new aerial body? And when he would hit the ground with his hooves, Mother Earth was trembling. And that Arishtasur, when he ran towards Krishna, Shukdev Goswami describes Krishna hit him on a rock repeatedly, like a washerman washes wet clothes. You know? Of course, now we have washer and dryer and all of these things, so we cannot understand these examples. But in Dhobi Ghat, or traditionally in India, you see they were in a circular motion of the arm. They would wash wet clothes. So this is how Krishna was finishing Arishtasur. So you can imagine, Ananta Shaktaye, to whom Uru Rupaye, he who takes so many different forms, Uru Rupa, he has Ananta Shaktaye. In fact, Bhagavatam describes when there is pralay, there is total destruction. All the sages are crying to Krishna. All are crying, Pahimam, Pahimam, Rakshamam, Rakshamam. And they see that the Supreme Lord is smiling even during pralay. So we have little paper cut in our finger and we are crying. And here there are innumerable pralays which take place, and great sages, they take shelter of Krishna during that time. So Krishna is completely unaffected. So Ananta Shaktaye, that Ananta Shakti is an adjective, is the reference to Uru Rupa. In many forms he comes in Ananta Shakti. And similarly, Arupa, he has no form, which means material form, and that refers to Brahmajyoti, Brahman. And final phrase for the day, Namaha Ascharya Karmane. Oh, he has Ascharya Karman, which means he performs very astonishing, wonderful activities, which are not common. So now you see in Sanskrit, the word Ascharya is also a very interesting derivation. In this world, when you do something or you witness something and you're very astonished, you are wonderstruck, you say, ah, oh, that was wonderful. Ah is the expression. So in Sanskrit, ah, cha. So when repeatedly there is astonishment, it's called ah, cha, which becomes ascha. And the activity is ascharya, like that. So wonderful, wonderstruck, awesome, as we say, activities. Like, for example, who can see a dwarf who asks, when given an option, he asks for 3 steps. And then when the steps are given, then he expands and he covers them as 3 universes. This is not seen normally. Then people are afraid of snakes in general. But here Krishna is going inside the mouth of snake and bringing his dead friends alive. Literally, Agasur's mouth was stinking like a public toilet. But Krishna entered. He entered the mouth and got all his dead friends back. And now Agasur's body was really like a forest of fresh flowers by the presence of Krishna's fragrance and his body. This is Ascharya Karmani. People are afraid of even pictures of snake. But here Krishna is dancing on the hoods of snakes with a smile on his face. He's not having any fear or stress, or he didn't have any panic attack or anxiety attack being there. I am stuck. Dancing and keeps everybody happy and entertained also. This is Ascharya Karmani. In this world, you will never see a rich man sitting ahead and his driver sitting behind. Rich man is always sitting behind and he tells the driver, yeah, you dropped me there. And he's sitting behind and reading newspaper. But here the richest man, Sri Krishna, is the Partha Sarathi. He is ahead and Arjuna, the devotee, is sitting behind. So the roles and the positions are also reversed. This is Ascharya Karmani. Queen Kunti says, Tat Atyanta Vidambanam, in the prayers of Queen Kunti. She says, my Lord, it is certainly bewildering for me that he who is called Abhaya Charanaravinda, which means by taking shelter of whose lotus feet, the devotees become fearless. That Lord is running in fear from Mother Yashoda. So devotee is running, mother is running, and God is afraid. This is unheard of. Rudantam muho netram yugmam rejantam karambhoja yugmena satanka netram. Satyavrat Muni is saying, Rudantam, God is crying. How? Muhuhu, repeatedly. Netram, eyes. Yugmam, 2 eyes, which are filled with kajal. What is he doing? Karambhoja yugmena, with his 2 lotus hands, he is rubbing. But how are those eyes? Sa atanka netram. Atanka means terror, like atankvadi, terrorist. So atanka netram, his eyes are filled with terror. He is really afraid. So Queen Kunti is seeing this on the day of Diwali. And she says, he who gives abhayam sattva samshuddhim, he who gives fearlessness, he is crying for his protection. Tat atyanta vidambanam. This is certainly bewildering. How do I understand? So this is Ascharya Karmani. Krishna eating mud with his left hand. God eating like this without sahasra shirasha purusha sahasraksha sahasrapat. This is Ascharya Karmani. Stealing butter, stealing clothes, stealing hearts. This is Ascharya Karmani. Dressing, smearing his body with mud and cow dung and cow urine, and making different faces and running behind the shadow of birds and pulling his tongue out and trying to tease and imitate the monkeys. This is Ascharya Karmani. In Treta Yuga, when he walked with the monkeys, everyone said, oh wow, this is Ascharya Karmani. But in Dwapar Yuga, he went 1 step ahead. He was not just walking with the monkeys, he was teasing the monkeys. He was making face like the monkeys. And Mother Yashoda would say, stop being with the monkeys. Being with the monkeys, your face is looking like a monkey now. Baby monkey. This is Ascharya Karmani. Lifting Govardhan hill is Ascharya Karmani. Really astonishing and wonderful activity. So when Indra is showering thunderbolt and there is rains, Krishna did not say, now everybody wear your raincoat. Everyone bring in your umbrella. He didn't even say, everyone go home. Indra will stop. He has limited water supply. After some time, he will stop. Or nor did Krishna say, now everybody please remove your bow and arrow and sword, let's fight Indra. He thought of something which was really unusual and never heard of. He lifted a whole hill. When Hanuman lifted the hill in Treta Yuga, it was astonishing. But Krishna is lifting the hill like a mushroom on the tip of his fingernail, of his little finger, of his left hand, and under which everyone is having natural time. Very, very nice entertainment time. So we are talking about lockdown now. But in Govardhan Leela, 7 days, they also had lockdown. They were all with Krishna in the center, not going anywhere. So we can take inspiration like that. This is Ashcharya Karmane. When the Supreme Lord appears as Matsyadev, he appears in a small puddle. He tells Swayambhuva Manu, I am a small fish. I am growing. Now the puddle is too small. You please save me. So Swayambhuva Manu picks him up from there, puts him in a well so that he can swim well. And Matsya Avatar, then he grows further and he becomes as big as the well. Now he tells Swayambhuva Manu, now again I need help. Swayambhuva Manu now makes arrangement with 1,000 soldiers. They lift him from there because he's very, very heavy, and they put him in a big river. And after putting him in the river, now he becomes the size of the river. He tells Swayambhuva Manu, now I need help. He says, don't worry, my lord, I will put you into a big ocean. He puts him into the ocean. Now Matsyadeva has become as big as the ocean. And now Swayambhuva Manu says, my lord, what is your instruction now for me? At that time, Matsya says that, Pralaya is going to come very soon. So I want everyone to pile up all their possessions in a boat and tie the end of the boat to my horn, and I will take you across this ocean during Pralaya. So in this way, this is Ashcharya Karmane. He comes in as a needle, out as a plow. Where is that coming from? It's coming from Matsya Avatar. It's coming from Vaman Avatar. In as a needle, comes as a small fish, comes in as a dwarf, and out as a plow. Comes as a big fish outside, or comes as the Urukram Avatar. So this is Ashcharya Karmane. He breathes in as Mahavishnu and exhales out so many universes. This is Ashcharya Karmane. So he cannot be predicted. This cannot be estimated. This is very, very important. This is why we should never misinterpret this verse. Some people say, Gajendra is actually promoting Mayavad, that Arupa, Brahman has, or the Supreme Lord, na vidyate janma karma, na nama, na rupa, and arupa, Brahmane, etc. But it needs maturity, spiritual maturity to reconcile all of this properly. It doesn't mean the Lord has no guna. He has no material qualities. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said, Samasta guna gana dhama. He is actually the abode of all transcendental qualities. So, na vidyate yasya cha janma karma va, no material birth, no material activities, na nama rupe gunadosha eva va. He has no material name or form or guna and dosha. We discussed all this. And tathapi lokapyaya sambhavaya yaha swa mayaya tanu anukalam richati. This we skipped today because we have discussed this sufficiently in the past. Tasmai namaha pareshaya. This we discussed, how he is the Lord of the demigods. And Brahmane arupa, that we discussed. And ananta shaktaye ururupaya, this we discussed. And finally, namaha ashcharya karmane. He who performs unlimited and transcendently sweet activities, which are very, very beautiful. You see, one time, I was in one city and they were preparing for some drama. So that father has two sons. So that father was going to play the role of Narasimhadev. So he got in the Narasimha mask. So he had his t-shirt and jeans, etc. But he had they were preparing, rehearsal was going on. So he got in his Narasimha mask. And he went in front of his younger child. With the Narasimha mask, he started making some sound. And the little child started crying. Really he started crying and it was intolerable. And then later the father had to remove the mask and show the child, actually it's me, and the child still didn't stop. But it's interesting, before that, he did the same thing with the older son. And the older son just looked at the father with a smile saying, you really think I'm going to fall for this? Oh, father, I know it's you it's your face behind the mask. And the father smiled and he removed the mask. So when I saw that, I remembered that all the demigods are like the younger child. When the Supreme Lord comes in different masks, Ascharya Karmane, he comes in different forms, in different masks. They sometimes even get scared, they get frightened, they get confused. Because like the little child, they're innocent. But the pure devotees like Prahlad, they are like the older child. They smile. My Lord, you may try to be the source of fear for the whole world. But my Lord, behind that mask, I know it's you. Just like you see in Hollywood and Bollywood, they have double role, triple role. And people get very excited how the same person is acting 2 roles, 3 roles. But Jayadev Goswami has said, Keshava Drita, Meena Sharira. Keshava Drita, Sukara Rupa. Kurma Sharira. Keshava Drita, Sukara Rupa. Keshava Drita, Narahari Rupa. Keshava Drita, Vamana Rupa. Keshava Drita, Bhrigupati Rupa. Keshava Drita, Rama Sharira. Keshava Drita, Haladhara Rupa. Keshava Drita, Buddha Sharira. Keshava Drita, Kalki Sharira. So not 1 role, double role, triple role. 10, Dashavatar role is going on by the Supreme Lord. So this we have to understand. Ascharya Karmane. The Supreme Lord is appearing in so many different forms, only to captivate our hearts, to pull our hearts strings. Because different jivas, they get attracted to different emotions. There are some who get attracted to Narsingadev, like His Holiness Sridhar Maharaj from ISKCON Juhu. I remember he used to have a house, a small room there, which used to be called as Narsimha Kutir. Many years ago, I believe in 97 or 98, once Sridhar Maharaj, he took me to his room. And the whole room was filled with Narsingadev. Pictures of Narsinga, deities of Narsinga, forms of Narsimha. So many wonderful Narsimha pictures and deities. So he was attracted to Narsimhadev. And he mentions in one class that he gets attracted to Narsimhadev because it is a source of security and protection. That come what may, whatever may be the case, Narsimhadev will protect me from material nature. Narsimhadev will protect me at all costs. So some get attracted to Narsimha like that. But there are some others who get attracted to Sri Ramachandra. They call him as Kodanda Pane. Oh, he who's holding a Kodanda, a very nice bow in his hand. While there are others who get attracted to Krishna. Shama Sundara Shikhanda Shekhara Smeraha Samurali Manohara Radhika Rasikamam Kripa Nidhe Swapriya Charana Kinkarim Kuru. He who plays the flute, he who has a smile, he who has a threefold bending form. So in this way, depending on the jivas, to pull their hearts in different directions according to their inner emotions and inclination, the Supreme Lord naturally comes in his beautiful, wonderful forms to perform Ascharya Karmane, different, wonderful, transcendental activities. So having said that, I want to offer my obeisances to all the wonderful assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who are facilitating this discussion. By your holy auspicious presence, I am able to serve all of you. Whatever shortcomings may be there in these discussions, please kindly forgive me. And whatever juice you may taste, it is actually the inheritance coming down, our parampara. It is none of that belongs to me. Vancha kalpataru bhescha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Just a quick announcement. Tomorrow we will not have our Gajendra class. Instead, from 7 to 8, the same time, we will have a class on Sri Ramachandra because tomorrow is Ram Navami. So we will discuss from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will discuss on behalf of ISKCON Atlanta. We will have the Ram Navami discussion. So we will take a break from Gajendra Katha. However, the class will continue. We will have Ram Katha. And then we will later, tomorrow, make announcements for the next session on Gajendra. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo.